In the past, population was controlled by famine, pestilence, and warfare. People raided neighboring tribes, wiped them out, and then expanded into their territory as a means of taking space for increased population for the raiding tribe. This is the way it is almost in Africa today. You have people, for instance, in the Sudan, trying to wipe out competing tribes so that there's enough food for the raiding tribe. The people in Africa tend to have large families with lots of children. In the past, this was a good idea because a lot of the children didn't survive to adulthood. They passed away from diseases or possibly famine on bad years. And so it maintained the level of the population of the tribe by having a whole bunch of kids, expecting some of them not to survive. We came in and we applied medical treatment to these people, so the disease part is not as bad, although AIDS seems to be taking over pretty good over there. So the tribes get bigger and they expand and they eat up and devour the land, and pretty soon there isn't enough land to grow crops and to survive. They kill off the animals. They cut down the mature forests. Soon it will be just people over there. There will be a certain amount of vegetation, but nothing to sustain the populations that they can grow into. When we controlled disease, people didn't cut back on their family sizes. They still have lots of children over there. And so famine and warfare come into play more. And these are terrible things to have to tolerate as a human being in a hostile environment. It is better to voluntarily have zero population growth. In that way, the population won't exceed the limits of this finite earth. Zero population growth is 1 child per family. This is mathematically true. It's not 2 children per family. The reason for that is that people live increasingly longer. In 1900, the life expectancy averaged 45 years, about. Today, it's around 78 years. If those people who were living in this period had 2 children, that is not zero population, that's an increase in population. So we must have zero population, and that will take care of a lot of the problems involving pollution, demand for industry that belches out gunk in the air. We can temporarily clean it up, sure, but then we need more industry to serve the ever-increasing population. And it's kind of like a pyramid scheme. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. 1 child per family is a little less than zero population growth, but when you factor in that the divorce rate is 50%, and if a couple has 1 child and then they get divorced, and the divorced spouse meets a single person who does not have any children, and they have a child, the average moves up to 1.5 children for that family unit. In addition, some people won't have any children, and some people might have 2 children or more. So consequently, I expect it to balance out by saying 1 child per family. It's something that should be taught in civics class. I don't ever want to impose that on any family. It should be a family decision, voluntary on their own. Too many times our freedom gets torn away from us because the government figures they know best. I'd much rather have our government give incentives, and provide knowledge in our civics classes in high school of what zero population mathematically amounts to, and then let the people decide for themselves. The average woman biologically can have 26 children, providing they aren't twins or multiple births, then it'd be more. But with 26 children, that means that everybody could have 26 children, but they aren't. They're making a conscious decision to have less. So they do their own family size planning, and they should continue to be able to do that. All I'm requesting is that they have knowledge to make their own choices. I would never preach to anybody what to do, but I think it's only fair that they're provided with knowledge of the consequences, and then they can decide. And if they choose to have 2 children or more, or 26 even, God bless them. But at least they have the knowledge for a conscious decision. Greenhouse gases are caused apparently by CO2. Do you know where CO2 comes from? The greatest expellers of CO2 are us. We breathe out carbon dioxide. Then plants breathe in carbon dioxide or absorb it, and they give out oxygen for us to breathe. As our population grows, we cut down more and more forests, and there's less plants around capable of producing oxygen. Plus, there's us breathing the oxygen and breathing out a lot of carbon dioxide. You could say, sure, there's a lot of land around. Look at all that farmland we could expand into. But carbon dioxide knows no bounds. If it's difficult to breathe in cities and they come up with oxygen stores, that same air is around the world. Maybe not in as great density, but it's there. So if we have a population that's ever increasing, we're going to have demands for industries that's going to pump a lot of these gases and causing destruction and greenhouse gas situation. And also our own breathing will cause it. Sometimes when we have additional things like roads, if we build a highway, we go through a planning process, and we build that highway because the traffic is getting too heavy. By the time we complete the highway, the population may have caught up, and it's the same as before we started that highway. But if we have zero population, then we won't have that problem. Ethanol is added to people's gas tanks. And I think this is a mistake if they're trying to save oil.